Hi all. Okay, this will be our third solver video. First one, we installed solver into Excel. Second video, we went over the first example. And then in this third video, we'll do another example. Okay. And same as the previous one, I have this Word file that I use in class when I teach this at college. And we'll just run through this real quick so we have a general idea of what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to use solver. Solver has to have a formula. It has to know what we want to do. So, real simple example, add B1 to B2 and put the total here. Start solver, and we say, what cell do we want our total to be in? B3. B3. What value do we want to set B3 at? We want to make it 100. By changing what cells. Here we're going to say both cells. Cell B1 and B2. Cell B1 and B2. We'll go over the details here when we do the example. Then we'll click Add Constraint. See, it says here Constraint. Don't let the fancy word mess you up. All it means is like a restriction type thing on a cell. Okay, so here we're going to add a constraint, and we're going to say on cell B1 here is less than or equal to 10. And then it adds the constraint here. Cell B1 must be less than or equal to 10. Click solve, and it says 90. Puts a 10 in here. Okay. So let's see how this works in Excel. We'll start Excel. We'll have a real simple example. Create a formula. A1 plus A2 click that cell, data tab, start solver. It wrote that cell in for us because we've had it selected, A3. We'll set the value of A3 to 100, and then by changing what cells, we'll click on this guy here and we'll just drag over these. As we drug over these two cells, Excel added those two cell locations to our item here, and it's saying cell A1 and cell A2. Don't let the dollar signs mess you up. That just means absolute cell. Absolute cell means it's going to be this cell and it's gonna be this cell. Can't change it. And then it puts a colon in between the two cells as just a separator. Okay, so all this says here is A1 and A2. Okay, so dollar signs just mean absolute cell. It's gonna be A and it's gonna be 1. It's gonna be A and it's gonna be 2. So cell A1, cell A2, sticks a colon in between for a separator. We'll hit the enter key to get out of this. You'd think there'd be an OK button here. Let's see if this works here. Okay. Now we want to add a constraint. We'll say subject to constraints. Constraint is just like a restriction. So we'll say add a constraint. Add a constraint to what cell? We'll just click here, add a constraint to cell A1, and we can choose different things here. We'll say cell A1 must be equal to 20. And then we'll click OK. Okay, so here's our constraint. A1 must be equal to 20. So when Excel uses solver to get this total, cell A1 has to be 20 here. And then we'll click solve. Okay, so Excel found our numbers. It put a 20 in here because that was our constraint. It solved it for 80 and then put a total in here. Okay, so just to run through this again, we'll just pick a random cell here and we'll create a formula. We'll say D1 plus D2, and then we'll click that cell and we'll click the solver. It went back and grabbed this cell here, so we'll go ahead and click here and click on this cell, hit enter. So we want to set cell D3 to, we'll say we want to set cell D3 to, let's say 20, by changing what cells. We'll click this guy, just left click and drag over these two cells. Puts the dancing ants around the two cells. Wrote the two cell locations in here for us. Hit the enter key. And then we can add a constraint. We can say, click here. We'll click on this cell, a constraint on D1, hit enter. Let's say is less than or equal to 5. Click OK. So now we have a second constraint. Cell D1 must be less than or equal to 5. And we'll click solve. So it said this cell has a constraint less than or equal to 5. It stuck a 5 in there, solved for this cell, and then used our formula and gave us our total here. You can click here to back out of it, run it again. Click OK. Okay, and I think we'll stop there. See ya. Bye.